Okay, this video is to help you on the factor quadratics lesson in IXL. Okay, and this is just putting all the pieces together of the things we've already done. Okay, when you factor a quadratic completely, okay, you just want to do these things. Okay, we've done all these individually, but now we're putting it all together. Okay, to factor a quadratic completely, the first thing you always want to do is look for a greatest common factor first. Okay, if it isn't one. Okay, you want to look for a greatest common factor first and factor it out. Okay, do that right away. Do that right away. After you do that, you're going to either be left with a trinomial or a binomial. Okay, if you're left with a trinomial, okay, it could be one of two types. You could have a trinomial where there's no number in front of x squared. Okay, those are the easy ones. Just find two numbers that multiply together to give you the last term, that add together to give you the middle term, okay, and then put them after the variable, and you've got it. Okay, if you have the other type of trinomial where there is a number in front of x squared, okay, those are the trickier ones. Okay, for now, we just did this with trial and error. So just use trial and error and try to factor it down some more. Okay, if you had taken your greatest common factor out and you were left with a binomial, okay, two pieces, okay, see if you can write it as something squared minus something squared. Okay, because if you can do that, you can take those two somethings, you can put a plus between them and a minus between them. Okay, okay, that's the level I'm going to go with. I will say this, if you are on doing the IXL lesson, I don't know if they'll throw these in, but just a good thing to know. If you have a quadratic that doesn't factor at all, okay, nothing, it doesn't have a greatest common factor, you can't factor it with one of the other tricks, I mean, you just can't do anything with it, we say it is prime. Okay, it's prime. And again, I don't know if that'll show up on the lesson or not, but just in case. Okay, let's do some examples. Okay, first problem. Factor 5x to the third plus 20x to the second plus 15x. Okay, first thing I want to do is look for a greatest common factor. Okay, always do that first. There may not be one, but look for it. Okay, and I see one because I can see that 5 is the biggest number that goes into 5, 20, and 15. So 5's part of it. I see a common variable of x. Okay, x is in all three parts. X to the first is the smallest one I see. So I know that this has a greatest common factor of 5x. So I'm going to rewrite it. 5x, put my parentheses, and I'm going to at least think about that I'm dividing all three pieces by 5x. Okay, 5x to the third divided by 5x. The 5's wipe out. We're left with x to the third divided by x to the first is x to the second. Okay, the next part. 20 divided by 5 is 4. And x to the second divided by x to the first, subtract to get x to the first. So a positive 4x is the middle. 15x divided by 5x. 15 divided by 5 is 3. The x's wipe out. Okay, so we have 5x times x squared plus 4x plus 3. Okay, we looked for the greatest common factor first. Okay, we need to keep going, or possibly keep going. Okay, we have a trinomial that's left, and this is the type of trinomial that does not have a number in front of x squared unless you thought of it as being 1. Okay, those are the nice ones. Usually, or a lot of times you can do these in your head. If I can figure out two numbers that multiply together to give me 3 and add together to give me 4, I've got it. Okay, two numbers that multiply together to give me 3. Okay, the only two there really is, if they're integers, are 3 and 1. Okay, so positive 3 times positive 1 is 3. Okay, and 3 plus 1 also gives me 4. So I know that this factors down to x plus 3, x plus 1. Okay, this is my final answer. 5x times x plus 3 times x plus 1. Okay? Let's see, 3. Okay. The second problem, factor 200 x to the third minus 18x. Okay, I want to think about the greatest common factor. The biggest number that will go into 218. I'm pretty sure it's 2. I'm pretty sure it's 2 because if I take that 2 out of 18, I'm left with 9. Okay, and I don't think 9 or 3 will go into 200. So I think I'm pretty safe to say that the greatest number that will go into 218 is 2. Variables. You see an x in both parts? Okay, we see an x in both parts. So we need to take the smallest of our x out. Okay, x to the third, x to the first. X to the first is the smallest. Okay, so the greatest common factor is 2x. Factor that out first. And guys, when you're doing IXL, there may not be a greatest common factor. There may not be one. Okay, so if I divide both pieces by 2x, 200x to the third divided by 2x would be 100. 200 divided by 2 is 100. Subtract the exponents. 100x to the second. Okay, negative 18 divided by 2 is negative 9. And the x's wipe out. Okay, so we're left with 2x times 100x to the second minus 9. Okay, after we take out the greatest common factor, if we can, okay, if we are left with a binomial, look for, I'm going to use brackets to kind of distinguish here. See if you can make this fit. See if you can make 100x squared minus 9 fit the pattern something squared minus something squared. Okay, so can we think of something squared that gives us 100x to the second? Okay, that'd be 10x. 10x times 10x would be 100x squared. Okay, can we think of some number times itself that gives you 9? Okay, 3. Okay, so we're going to take that 10x and 3, and we're going to put a plus sign between them. We're going to put a minus sign between them. 10x plus 3, 10x minus 3. Don't forget the greatest common factor that we took out. Okay, make sure that's included in your answer. Okay, so our final answer is 2x times 10x plus 3 times 10x minus 3. Okay, guys, just like with all this factoring, it just takes oodles and oodles of practice. Just remember to look for a greatest common factor first, and then treat the trinomial and binomial like we've been doing. Okay, do your best and let me know if you have any questions at all.